Jason Adelaars. Take it away.
All right.
Thank you. All right. Hello. Well, thank you, Colin, for a little bit of an introduction there. My name is Jason. I work for Synchro as their technical manager. I have a 20-year background in throwing things in the water and getting them back with data on them. And so if you want to have that happen, I'm your guy. And so I'm here to talk about that a little bit and how we might be able to support you through Synchro in doing some testing and evaluation of your developing sensors. So I'm really trying to prioritize like the developer side of this. And so as you can see with my super fancy toothless gears here, Synchro kind of operates at the intersection between technology development, the data end users, and the scientists that are actually collecting the data. And we want to try to synchronize that effort to make sure that we're developing technology that meets the needs of that data end user. And I'm going to go and explain that a little bit more. So basically, in all of my experience of dealing with going out and throwing things in the water, I've kind of distilled it down into these three characters. And I want to apologize first is that like I understand these are all white dudes with beards. That is not representative of the ocean community. It's very diverse and wonderful, but these pictures made me laugh the most. And so what I want to understand with this is that transferring data into information is very difficult. We're mostly working in the scope of the technician and the scientist. You've got a tool, you go out in the field, you collect some information, and it's like, sweet, we got a bunch of data. But actually transforming that data into actionable information by the end user is really hard. That takes a ton of effort too. And there's almost like a whole information pipeline that's got to be developed through that. And so I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about each one of these characters and just describe a little bit about like what their individual needs are, because they are ultimately going to be the users of your technology. And so as the technician, this was me for most of my career. So I have a lot of experience in this. Is just having the usability of your sensor and a lot of support and documentation. I want to be able to, with confidence, go out there, deploy it, come back sometimes weeks or a year later and have data on it and like be satisfied with that. And so think about all of these. Think about that person that's actually going to be hands-on your technology and using it and extracting that data. Very important person. Next is the scientist. The scientist often just wants a bunch of data. Like they want, send me out, go just get as much data as possible. And then at some point they're going to try to like massage that into a message that they can deliver to somebody. And they have a lot of things that are important to them too, mostly cost. And so that's why I appreciate how we are really focused on accessible ocean technology these days. It enables us to better scale and to better fill those gaps spatially and temporally of data systems that we're kind of missing right now. And so finally, the decision maker, it's kind of hard one to pin down. They don't always know what they want, but generally, they're great to work with. And kind of what my take home with this is as a developer, maybe try engaging a little bit more with these data end users because they're the ultimate customers of your technology. And so if we can develop that relationship, it might promote you be able to scale your technology more. If it answers their question really well, then it's going to answer a lot of other people's questions at the same time. So what I do is I run a testing and evaluation program in Monterey Bay. We have access to a number of different types of infrastructure through the Monterey Bay Aquarium Research Institute, Moss Landing Marine Labs, Stanford Hopkins Marine Station, UCSC, the list goes on. We've got a lot of partners. We've got a lot of institutional knowledge and experts to be able to test, get some data, try to create some messages with it, do some evaluations, and then help the developers, try to edge their technology forward a little bit more. And so these are three, use cases. The center one I want to point out is a mooring that I just inherited. That's right off the shore of Hopkins Marine Station and Cannery Row. So that's like Monterey Bay Aquarium right there in the background. And so my goal for this year is to integrate some bristlemouth technology onto that so that if you were developing a technology with the BristleCon connectors, we can just go out there, plug it in, and then have it on a mooring, do some testing with it, and then we can see if we can create something really cool. Heard mention of Hohonu earlier. I got that installed this year on the Santa Cruz Wharf this last summer, and it's been collecting data ever since. I can attest it took me an hour to deploy that sensor, and most of that was just drilling the thing into the side of the post. But within a couple hours, we were collecting data, and that thing was amazing. And what's really awesome about it is we had a major storm event last month, and half the wharf fell down. And so now that is a really unique and interesting data set. Even though it was just measuring like water height, we saw a lot of like noise and variability during that. And so now I'm working with some area researchers, the developer, and the city to be able to extract some really useful information about that. And then hopefully that can like operate a value add to that program's data offerings. The final one, I also got access to the Western Flyer, the newly restored Western Flyer based out of Moss Landing. And we were able to test this really awesome microscope camera. It's a flow-through camera that's kind of sitting on the deck there, and we had it attached to a plankton tow net, and it was sucking water up onto the deck through this awesome imaging system. It was just firing off a bunch of photos. It took 17,000 photos in 5 minutes of like little particulates. And then on the fly, it was classifying them based on like some AI model that they had. And so it was like really freaking awesome. And so anyone can apply. What I can test, I really want to focus on sensors. We've done some platforms in the past. It's a little bit more challenging, but anything dealing with biogeochemical imagery, physical oceanography, passive reactive acoustics or eDNA, like, please, like, I want to test it. I want to get that thing in the water. I want to see how it works. That way it makes it easier for me to tell people about it, do a little bit of marketing for you guys, we are well networked and we have a lot of partners, and we're like doing presentations all the time. So yeah, I would just say leave you as get in touch if you want to connect and talk about some things or talk about, operations and getting stuff in the water. Been doing it for a long time. So thank you for having me. This has been a lot of fun. And so, yeah, I guess we get to go to the next thing now.
Next thing now, please, everybody.